Welcome to this tutorial on using Zotero to create bibliographies using the right-click function. Creating bibliographies with the right-click function is one of several ways to create bibliographies or in-text citations with Zotero. It is really useful if you need to add a full reference list, works cited list bibliography to either a completed document, a slide deck, or something like a conference poster. It allows you options on different citation styles and different output methods. The one drawback is that you can't easily switch between styles in a document like you can with an add-on. You'd have to rerun the right-click function in order to get a new bibliography in a different style. Before we go over to the demo section, I'm just going to remind you that I'm on a Windows operating machine, so your screen might look different if you are working on a Mac or another operating system, and also like the functionality of like right click may not work again depending on your operating system. There will be other ways to do this. Alright, so I am in my Zotero demos library here, and with the right-click option you have a couple of options in order to get this to work. So you can go through and choose multiple items. I'm currently holding down my Shift key and using my left click on my mouse to collect these items. And then once I have a number of them selected, I can actually right-click with my mouse and then go down to create a bibliography from these items. Alternatively, if you need a bibliography for all of the items in one of your libraries or collections like this, you can actually go over to the collection, the sub-collection, whatever you're looking for, and right-click and then go ahead and create a bibliography from that collection. So once you click on create a bibliography from a collection, this is going to be the dialog box that pops up again on a Windows machine. So the citation styles that are listed in this box are the kind of default ones that you see. Zotero has created this list of either really popular or very universal ones, or ones that are used quite a lot to write the Nature Journal collection, right? IEEE, APA, AMA, Chicago, MLA, right? These are some of the really big heavy hitters that we see often in citation styles, right? However, if you go and click on Manage Styles, within this, it's going to open up your Zotero settings and Insight, and you are able to actually get additional styles. If you are going to create your own styles or want to add in additional ones that you don't see here, you can do that. But to get additional styles is probably where most non-experts are going to use, or just ones who don't want to, do all the coding to get this. So you can actually search for a style. So if you know what the one that you're looking for, you can limit by a particular field. So for example, psychology. And what comes up in these lists are actually going to be either specific journals, so like the Annual Review of Psychology, or they might be a particular style. So for example, APA style 7th edition with annotated bibliography. Right? So this is one of the ones that I would like to actually add, and just by clicking on it, it adds it to this list. If I want to remove any styles from this list to make it a little bit shorter, make sure that I'm only seeing the ones I want to use, I can do that as well. So I don't need this MHRA style guide. Say okay. I'm probably not going to be using Nature all that often. Cite them right. Don't need that one. So again, I can kind of remove these out so that I'm not inundated with styles that I don't use all that often. Once you have added any additional styles or removed the ones you don't want, you're going to close out of this box. So to create, again, that full bibliography from a collection, right-click and then create bibliography, and then you'll see that that additional style that I added there is there, and the ones that I removed are no longer in this initial list. Okay. So I'm going to keep it simple with APA style 7 because I don't actually think I've got any annotations in this list. You can change a little bit of the language on these citations to a number of different languages, and again, they are written in their native spellings and pronunciations. This translation won't affect things like authors' names, title of articles or journals. It's really only going to affect the name of the month in a date, right? Or something like if you have a notation that says this is a video recording, it might change it to video recording. So again, it's not going to translate the entire title. But it is an option if you do need to translate those kind of individual or extra kind of notations within a citation. The output mode, you have two options here. The citations output mode is for in-text citations. Bibliography is going to give you that entire list that you want to see. And then with output method, there are 4 options here. Save as RTF means save as rich text file, which means it's going to open as a Microsoft Word document, if that is the word processor you have. Save as HTML saves your file as an HTML document. This is an option for if you need to share it online, and it will embed metadata for others to view and kind of document and capture those documents as well, possibly. Copy to clipboard. This will again put the entire list on your computer's clipboard so that you can then paste it into a project, so slide deck, poster, essay that you've already written, any of those things. And then finally, print will send your document kind of straight to a printer. So let's look at a couple of these different options. So first off, I'm going to initially save this as a bibliography here as a rich text file. So I'm going to hit OK. And then it's going to put in, open up typically your downloads folder, though you can change the way this goes. I'm just going to say save. And then when I go back into my downloads folder, I can double click on this, open it up, and now I have an entire APA bibliography ready and waiting for me. It is always a good idea to double check the citations that Zotero creates against the official manuals, or even just kind of your own knowledge. So I can tell you right now over on a couple of these that there's this extra little bit of information about what database, the Shahoy, and I believe I saw it here with the Willis et al., has this extra little bit about like what database it's coming from, and I definitely don't need that in an APA bibliography. The other thing is none of these links are live, so I might want to fix that going forward here. So there will be a little bit of cleanup that's necessary. And within a rich text file, you have the ability to format this to whatever you need. So again, if this comes in as Times New Roman and you need to be in Calibri or another font or another size, you can do that. But if you see that it does have the hanging indent and the double spacing throughout, so that formatting is at least already available to you. Similarly, if I was going to create a bibliography and I wanted to paste it onto a PowerPoint slide, for example, where an add-on is not available, I would copy to clipboard. I've got that entire bibliography chosen. And then switching over to my references slide, and then I would just go in and paste those options. Again, it might take a little bit of a workaround. So it did not give me the hanging indent that I needed for this, and I might want to work around some things like take off the bulleted list, and I could go in and, mess around with the indents and the spacing of everything that I need here. The copy to clipboard option does work pretty well if you're going into a word processor like Word or even Google Docs or something. You are also able to create in-text citations using the right-click function. So say I needed to cite 2 different papers in the same paraphrase or summary. I'm going to go ahead and right-click, go down to Create Bibliography from Items, and instead of choosing the output mode bibliography, I'm going to go ahead and choose the output mode of citations, again making sure that I have the citation style I want chosen. In this case, I typically usually just copy the clipboard. It's the easiest way to go. And so I'm going to click OK and then transition over to my Word document where I need this to go, and then go ahead and paste in that citation. Again, it may come in a different font than you need, so going back and through and making sure that you're hitting the right font and formatting for these citations to match the rest of your paper will be necessary. Okay, but it gives them to me, with the correct number of authors as well as the correct format and in alphabetical order as well, which is what's required for APA. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask a librarian or visit Zotero's documentation pages. And thank you for watching.